If you're not confident changing your own guitar strings, today we're going to change that with just a few simple steps. Tools that we're going to need for this: a tuner, clip-on one works pretty well, and a pair of clippers. Now, if you don't have a set of these lying around, just go to a hardware store, go to Walmart, anywhere that has a set of just simple clippers. It doesn't need to be anything fancy, but it does need to be something that works. These are a little big, but I also use them on bass strings, so yeah. First thing you're going to want to do is find a nice surface to work on. Now, this piano bench works pretty well because it's got a nice soft cushion on the top. It's not going to scratch the back of the guitar, so no issues there. If you don't have a flat surface to work on, I will also show the positions that I use if I don't have that. We'll get to that in a minute. Now, some people will change out string by string. Some people will change out all of the strings at once. I tend to prefer to do one string at a time, just to leave tension on the neck and never have the neck without any sort of string tension on it. So that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to start out with this E string. Get it to where it's nice and floppy, not making really any sound. I'm going to clip it in the middle. The reason I like to do that is because that gives me a little bit easier of a time removing it from the top part, and it's also a little bit easier to wrap up later. Then I'm going to take my snips and I'm just going to ease these under the peg, and that comes right out. This goes in, push them in at the same time, give it a nice firm pull. Make sure that's pulled both up and your pin is pushed down to where that's not going anywhere. Now on this side, I like to line up the hole to where it's in the line that the string is going to go, right? So I'll spin it around until it's there. Thread it through. Now, if you want the same number of wraps on all the strings, you're going to need some way to measure. I usually do 4 fingers kind of spread open like this at the 12th fret. So I'll do that. And then I'm just going to take this top of the string and bend it back. As I'm doing that, you can see I'm bending it all the way back to where I've got a nice bend right there at the top of the tuner. Then I'm going to put some pressure back here. I'm going to leave this pretty floppy on this end, but I'm putting pressure here because I want to get consistent tension right here at the tuner. Once that's started to get around, I bend that up. Then I pull this back. Again, you're trying to get consistent tension right there around the tuning peg. Yes, you can do this with a string winder. I like to do it just by hand, just because I don't like running the risk of going too fast and having inconsistent tension on there. Now, a lot of people freak out in this situation and be scared that the string's gonna like pop up and snap at them or something like that. 2 things to be aware of while you're doing that. Just make sure this is down, which that one had raised just a touch. That doesn't mean it's gonna fly out, but it had raised up just a touch, so I'm gonna give that a push down. And then if you are a little bit skittish about that, just bring the guitar to your body and maybe turn it down a little bit away from your face. Then I'm gonna take my pair of snips, get the flat side as close as I can within reason, and give a snip. Garbage. Let's hop on to the next one. Now, once you get in between these, it gets a little bit more finicky, but there's usually enough room to squeeze in and make sure you get that out of there. Put that in, give it a good pull. It's not going anywhere. Push that through. Do my 4 fingers. And something I didn't say about the E-string, but you're always going to, on this one, you're going to bend towards the inside of the headstock. So with the lower in pitch strings, top of the guitar, you're going to bend those down, and you're going to do the opposite with the G, B, and E. So I'm going to keep tension there. Start winding. Give that little bend up so it's out of the way. And the important thing with any guitar maintenance is to just pay attention to what you're doing the whole time. If it takes you a really long time, it's probably because you're doing it distracted or not paying attention. If that string slips and gets over the top of that, there's a potential for some tuning issues. Now that I've got all of these going from top to bottom, there's really not much that can happen to knock this thing out of tune. Check the pin. These are good. Close enough. In situations where you don't have a flat surface to set the guitar, I will use my legs sort of to support the instrument, and then I'll just make sure I'm over some carpet to rest the instrument down on, and then I'll kind of hold them in between my legs and make sure that it's not going anywhere. Just putting, I'm not squeezing or anything, just putting enough pressure to make sure that that's not going anywhere. So I'm doing that. I'm going to do all the same things. I'm going to do my 4 fingers right about the 12th. Give it a nice good bend here at the top. Start spinning. And every once in a while you get one that wants to bend up a little bit. Just give it a little bit of an adjustment as you go. And it'll fall in line. When you get to this point, it's where you are hitting the first turn. It's a good idea to just keep an eye on that, and if you need to, just make sure that that goes underneath that. Give it a little bit of a nudge. Once you know that's under, the rest of them will follow suit. Check this down here. Give a snip. Again, sort of holding the guitar just with my legs. Make sure it's not going anywhere. Making sure that your guitar is well braced, well placed wherever it is, and not going anywhere while you're doing this work really makes a difference in your confidence level. Let's get back on the table. Now again, like I said earlier, you're always going to be winding back when you're making this bend toward the center of the headstock. So if you're on the top, that would be down. If you're on the bottom, that's going to be up. So I'm going to do my 4 fingers right about there, and then I'm going to bend it up towards the center of the headstock. Add a little bit of tension. Now, if you get to this point and the string is on this side of the post, you've probably done something backwards. So maybe retrace your steps there. Another good thing to do, check to make sure that you're in the nut slot and in the saddle slot. Just by giving that a little bit of a wiggle. There should be an indentation there that the string sits in. If it feels like it's moving around, there might be an issue with the saddle, but more than likely there's an indentation that giving it a little jiggle left and right will find that sweet spot. Now with these, it's always important to be aware of where you're clipping. So if you have to be on this side, I recommend going in sort of from the side instead of straight down and making sure that you're getting clearance. I'm not going to accidentally clip one of the strings that you just put on. Let's give it a tune. Now, as I'm tuning, I'm going to double check multiple times that all of these are well seated. It's pretty normal for those to shift a little bit, but they're just getting locked in, so not a problem. And as I'm tuning, I'm always going to tune up to pitch and not tune past it and then back down. I'm going to stop. If I get past the note, then I'm going to tune it down underneath and then tune it back up to pitch. That helps to give even tension from behind the nut instead of there's the potential if you tune down for there to be a slack in tension and then all of a sudden it slips and then goes out of tune. So it's just good practice to tune up to the note and not ever down to the note. There's two more things that need to be done before this guitar is ready to play on stage. The first one is stretching out the strings. In order to do that, I'm going to hold close to the nut, and I'm going to, usually I pull in a couple of different spaces, but I pull like this, and I'm really giving it the business there. I'm gonna do that again with the A. And repeat that with all 6 strings. I usually just kind of move my hand in 3 different positions to make sure that I'm putting a lot of tension. Whether or not that's important, I don't know. The important thing is making sure that you're adding more tension than is needed above the nut and below the saddle. That's going to help those 2 points get really set in place, and you're not going to run into issues where there's uneven tension there. Now I got to tune it back up because it will have dropped significantly in tune. So then I'll repeat that step. Then the last thing that I do before I ever send this thing on stage is I'm gonna play it hard. This does 2 things. One, it helps the instrument get used to these new strings resonating and all that. Lets all of the tension kind of get let out of the instrument, so to speak. The other thing that this does is it sort of crash tests the strings and confirms that they're probably not gonna immediately break on you. So if you're gonna break with string, wouldn't you rather do it off stage than on? So I'm just gonna play it good and loud. It's good to do that for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then you can rest assured that this guitar is ready to go out on stage. You're not gonna run into any problems. Well, I hope you learned something today. If you did, please do me a favor and let me know in the comments. I really would appreciate it. And also let me know, do you normally change your guitar strings or do you take it to a guitar tech? Just curious. Until next time, keep getting better. Yeah, that's pretty good.